Today will be the first day I've had the car out this year, and I'm wanting to try out my new Dragy GPS monitor. So let's do it. I saw the smoke coming in the passenger compartment, but I didn't realize how much smoke was coming out until I saw the rear camera footage once I got home and downloaded it. And I know this car sounds awful. I thought it was the tapping sound, but I was only a few miles from home, so I limped it back home. So sorry you have to hear all that. But this was the first time I used my Dragy in the car, and I thought I'd just throw up the stats. Obviously, I let off once I saw the smoke, so it's nothing to brag about, but there it is. Well, this happened today. The car got extremely hot, extremely fast, and I damaged the 862 head. I'm very hopeful that the block is all right. This down here is, I think I can get it scraped off. I think it's just aluminum bits. Some of it's already come off, but I'm hopeful. So here we are. First major problem since the engine replacement. It overheated, and I had to drive it back home, and the cylinder head is ruined. I'm kind of wondering maybe if the head wasn't bad and I just didn't see it because I reused the original heads from the other motor. I didn't have them checked or anything by a shop, so maybe there was a problem with it, because I've had a overheating problem since I put this engine in the car, and maybe that was part of my problem. But I'm hopeful that that's all the damage and I can just get another head. So I did a little cleaning on the engine block where the cylinder head blew out, and everything looks good. I'm thinking I got lucky there. So I'll just get another cylinder head. I'm chasing the blind cylinder head bolt holes with this ARP. Looks like just looks like a thread tap. That's all it is, but it's long. It gets down in there where I need it. The refurbished 862 head that I purchased on eBay came with factory valve springs and rocker arms, which I will not be using as I have comp cam springs and Harlan Sharp rocker arms. So I needed to remove the parts I wanted to use off of the bad cylinder head that I messed up. So here in this video I am taking the comp cam valve springs off. And as you'll see, some of the keepers kind of hung up as I was removing them with my Crane Cam's valve spring compressor tool. So I had to use my dead blow hammer and free them up a little bit. Alright, here is the replacement cylinder head, courtesy of eBay. That thing was expertly packaged. Now I won't need the rocker arms, excuse me, valve springs, or the pedestal mount. But that's okay. As I mentioned earlier, the refurbished 862 cylinder head that I bought came with factory rocker arms and valve springs, which I will not be using. So I am going to remove them and post them back on eBay and hopefully make a little bit of my money back. This video details me pulling both the rocker arms and the valve springs off of the refurbished head. The Harlan Sharp rocker arms that I'm using do contact the cylinder head a little bit. That requires me to do a little clearancing on here, and I don't have a proper tool, so I use my Dremel, and a fiberglass reinforced cutoff wheel seems to work pretty well for this task. And as always, please wear safety equipment, because this could be dangerous otherwise. even though this car never came with this engine, and this engine originally was found in trucks and vans, the 4.8 motor is still an LS architecture. So I can use the torque specifications for a 4th gen F-body that came with an LS, which would be 98 through 2002 models. In this instance, I use the Haynes repair manual specifications of 3 passes of varying degrees of torque, starting out at 25 and 30 pounds, then 50 pounds, and then 75 pounds. I bolted the intake but did not remove it from the car, as I wanted to leave as much hooked up as I could. Leaving it on the car meant I could leave the fuel lines attached, fuel injectors and a lot of the wiring, because undoing the fuel lines it creates quite a mess, and I wanted to avoid that. So I was able to unbolt the intake, loosen the intake tube for the turbocharger, set up, and prop the intake up a little bit with a block of wood so I could access the top bolts along the passenger side cylinder head. Now that the cylinder head is bolted back onto the engine block, I can reattach the Edelbrock intake. The coolant passage opening on the rear of the passenger side cylinder head needed to be plugged. I had a sensor in the old head that was broken off, and of course I couldn't remove it, and rather than buying an expensive plug online, I went to my local Ace Hardware and bought a bolt of the same thread. It was an M12 by 1.5. I couldn't find a short one, but I did find a long one, and I just cut it to length. save you the agony of watching me take the cap of my wastegate off, but down here is where it's at, and I'm taking this spring out, this heavy duty spring here, and I'm going back to the softer spring, trying to keep the pressure down. I can always go back, I can always work my way back up to that spring, but that's the stiffest spring I've got. I placed this blow-off valve where it's at currently for, space reasons and optimum location, and a little combination of both actually. But as I started to take it apart to change the spring out, I immediately realized I do not like where it's placed. So maybe sometime in the future I will come up with a better solution. But until then, we'll fight through it this way. I have since gotten the car out and taken it for just a little bit of a drive, some street miles, and everything sounds good. There's nothing out of the ordinary, no smells or bad leaks or anything. The temperature stayed around the 175 range since I lowered the fans to come on at 160 rather than 180 as they were previously. So I did that in the Holley EFI Terminator LS program. So we'll see what happens. When I take it out and get on a little bit, we'll see what it does. So until next time, thanks for watching.